Yo, what's up guys, we got Himmel in the game and he is providing a new dungeon theme. So we got 19-second average over here, can go down to 18-second average. It did fail once, that is on the main and that is very hard to rune. And on the alt we have a 24-second average, 22 is the fastest run. If I were to run this exact theme on my main, it will probably run 22 seconds all the time. And this is a lot easier to rune. And within this video I'm going to be talking about both themes, how to optimize those themes, and also what I will be running after this myself. Let's start off with the alt, because that one is a little bit easier. We do have Himmel in here, and why is Himmel that good? Well, Himmel does have a max HP scaling on the enemy on skill 1 and skill 2. It is about the same multipliers as Lin, a little bit less than that. However, he also has a 100% damage increase against bosses, which is really insane. There's two things that I kind of have with this unit, which is a little bit weird. Why the defense lead? If this was a 44 attack lead, this thing would be so crazy good. Also, why the defense buff? The defense buff is a little bit weird in my opinion. The passive of him having the damage reduction is kind of nice, especially in early game teams. Especially if you use early game teams, because this is the Frodo plus this thing. This is full free to play and it is crazy fast. So what are the runes on this team? Well, we have a triple fight, 100 crit rate over here. I stack a little bit too much speed. The speed just has to be above the 169 in the correct order. So I have too much speed on these units. Also some damage on water over here, and this thing doesn't even work in the first place. Then the Julie, this one is the only one that's somewhat hard to rune from this comp. This is, yes, this is safe for scout. This is the noob account. What you want to be aiming for is additional damage by attack, attack increasing effects, and damage on water. Those three are the most important. Crit damages up and down and crit damages 3 are not that interesting. Preferably, you want to be on a fatal set, because that helps more for the additional damage by attack and then also the attack increasing effect. So this artifact is very mediocre. It's just pretty much these two rolls over here. And this artifact is decent where all of the rolls make sense. However, there's one roll in this which doesn't really help that much. So technically, these are just straight up 2 blue artifacts. But 2 blue artifacts with the exact right stats. The relic I have on this one also doesn't really help outside of just the main step, because this HP is not going to help me. Individual runes, they're decent. This one I randomly picked up from doing Infrared. And then, yeah, these runes are decent, but it's not too crazy just yet, I would say. The Prelude, just a triple fight. You want to be aiming for the 35 accuracy, 85 crit rate, same as always. Luna, you have to be 100 crit rate, 247 crit damage in this case. Not crazy high right there. Also not having a great one over here. Also a crit damage max or something over there would be a lot better than this. And then here you want to just try to get as much crit damage as max crit damage 3, crit damage first, that kind of shenanigans. And then for the Hemo, I went for a fight set. It would be best if you have triple fight on him, but that would lack a lot of crit damage for me. I don't have that many fight runes on this account just yet. Talking about fight runes, I'll talk about where you can get fight runes. A lot of fight runes with one of those current defense at the moment. And then damage on water is pretty much non-existing as well. So I'm actually thinking about going for some scout battling on left side artifacts just to get a little bit more of that. But let's see how a run looks like. Well, it's pretty typical. You have this thing. You can go S1 and S2. I did notice I'm on the edge of killing with the Julie if that thing doesn't go for an S2. But it is still kind of fine most of the time if he goes for an S1. But I've noticed his AI is pretty decent to use the S2 most of the time. So it's not too big of an issue. If you land the death break from him earlier, it will be a lot better. Otherwise, you have to go for maybe a little bit more of a rotation back and forth to actually get the skills in and do actually manage to get the kill in. But yeah, this run, pretty solid, pretty sound. Don't really see too many chances of failing. You can miss a defense break on the Prelude, that is possible. But the chill thing about this team, yeah, this is exactly what I mentioned with the skill 1. So if I get a little bit more stats on the Julie, mainly a better artifact would already do it. I can actually make this down to like a 22-second team all the time. But yeah, that's just where I lack a little bit of damage, which exactly looks like this. So if I were to get those down, I will be fine on 22 seconds, maybe even 21-second average with this team. And as I mentioned, relatively easy to rune. You do need a little bit better of artifacts for this. It's a little bit scary by having decent artifacts. That's one of those main things. If I had a better relic, would also help out a lot to get this team just to simply better state of working all the time. But this is a very nice team where you don't need a Tesher anymore. Like, people were always saying, like, oh, you need that Tesher for Giants. Sure, this is a little bit more a mid-game-ish than a very early game style of being able to clear this. That is 100% true, because this account now is like about 2 months old, a little bit more than 2 months. You're not going to do it any earlier. But I do have my Teshar, but the chill thing is I never actually skilled up my Teshar. So I don't have to waste Devilmons in this. In this case, I also don't need to use my Homunculus, and I never skilled up my Homunculus, which is pretty chill. I did have to skill up the Silvertail, which is the Frodo. However, yeah, that just had to be done. You can make multiple of those, but that costs a lot of ancient coins. Plus, this one we get for free right now, which is definitely a good unit right there, which is really nice. Plus, one of those things, you get this rune for free on this unit as well, which is a crazy good rune for early game, because it's legit 2 of max stats, 1 of max stats, 2 of max stats, so it's a near maxed out hero, or a near maxed out legendary rune. Throw in the flat attack on this one, that's absolutely goated great rune over there. So I can farm more giants right now. I was doing a lot of giants in scout battling because I couldn't really farm giants on this account myself. But with this team right now, I can super easily farm giants. I can make some upgrades on pretty much all of them to make this faster, towards like 21 to 22 second average. And this is a very nice team, which is pretty much as fast as any other team. Sure, the Teshar team is way easier to build, 100% agree on that. But do you want to waste that many Devilmons and like a choice of a net 5 on a particular Teshar, where at some point, like within like, let's say 2 to maybe 4 or 5 months, you can create an account or like a team like this, which is just full free to play, doesn't need a Teshar, doesn't need any crazy shit, plus doesn't need any Devilmons if you picked up the units from this in the first place, which, in all honesty, all combined is very, very nice. Just need to have a little bit better of stats. I do have this one slot on the Julie, if we go for this slot, if I throw the flat attack in here, which I currently do not have just yet, I don't have that gem nor grind. I think I have the grind, but not the gem. The moment I get that gem, I place it in here, I will be fine for dealing enough damage. So I'm not too fearful on that. For max skills, you would need to have the Julie on max skill. You would need to have, or at least the S3 on max skill and the Luna S3 on max skill. Really, of course, max skill was no issue. These I would definitely max skill both as well. It is not a must for the Silvertail though. Like, it's nice to have at least the higher chance of death breaking. He's kind of a Zork for death breaking in the first place, but I would recommend to get that in there. So that is for the alt, and this is definitely the Giants team I will be running on the alt. Some people might also mention it's like, oh, you're gonna use it for dragons? No, because this team for dragons is just way too fucking good to replace anything in. Sure, I have seen some people go in with like a Julie Shaina plus like team-ups plus like Himmel and that kind of stuff. Can go down to like a 23-second team, but you need pretty decent runes for that to make that work. Plus, I already have this team, and this team is very hard to... yeah, it's just very hard to overtake. So I wouldn't really use it on the alt in Dragons. Would I use it in particular in R5? Yeah, I would. I would just replace any kind of random damage dealer with that. So let's say that we have the Astar over here. I would replace the Astar with that unit, for example. Like any kind of random damage dealer that you're like, it's kind of okay, but it doesn't do that much. Just place Himmel on there. He's definitely nice next to a lot of team-ups because his S1 does give glancing, but his S1 is also still max HP scaling. Must say that the raid boss is not the craziest of unit to do a lot of max HP scaling damage to, but that's definitely one of those things. I would use it in here as well. He's definitely good enough to be used in here, but not something that's really like, a must pick in there. But definitely for early game accounts would be really nice. Also, if we're talking very, very early game, you could always do a team like this. This team will definitely destroy that boss, will be good enough for healing, attack breaks, defense buffs, glancings, all of that kind of good stuff. So if you want to get just a full-on free-to-play whatever team, I don't care how fast it is, these are good free-to-play units that will definitely get you there. Then let's look at the main. The main is looking at a 19-second average, can go down to 18-second average. But main thing is, I'm kind of missing a relic that's good. So I have the good relic, but it's only +6. I tried the new relics this week, but they didn't get that far. So we have the bad team. Credits to MosSW coming up with that idea for the bad team. What you mainly want to have is your Julie skill 3 into the bat, clearing the waves. And then his skill 1 is actually a very fast animation for a death break for 1 turn. We only need 1 turn death break. And then the rest is pretty similar as is. So Where does it go wrong over here where you get this random fill? Well, first of all, I will also mention a bunch of things like how you can improve the damage on both sides after this. So that's where we get the damage in. Prillia actually most of the time does use an S3 or an S2. So therefore you can clear the mid boss just by a Luna. You don't have to clear the mid boss by the Himmel. Himmel doesn't have perfect AI for the S2, which is kind of unfortunate. If he had perfect AI for that S2, he would be crazy good. This goes down to about like 18 seconds flat on my phone. This thing is always a little bit slower than what I have on the phone, but animation of this bat is definitely very, very fast. But there's a few things. I actually was stuck on this team and I couldn't really make it for about a day. And there was one issue that my Julie was dealing too much damage. And can you be like, wait, too much damage? Yeah, that's actually one of those things. This is also an issue. If the Himmel goes for skill 1 and your Luna did not push back and the defense break happened late, then there is one issue that you will get the counter. You will get the defense break from either left or right tower. I don't remember which one it is. And then you will get a hit, and that's where you fail. So this team has a small chance of failing. And plus, my Luna's just on the edge of not dealing enough damage sometimes, which also slows down this run, and where the homunculus or this Himmel has to do his skill. It would be very nice if that thing was perfect. Yeah, if that thing does perfect all the time, man, that unit would be so crazy good. He's already really good, but yeah, that's just a thing. And you can see the runs going up in speed the moment that the Luna doesn't fully one-shot. So I need a little bit of a better Luna. But this Luna is already pretty decent. So how much effort I had to put to make a 22 to 24 second team on the alt, I have to put a lot more effort to make this one work. You will see the runes in just a second. But let me first talk about what was the issue with Julie doing too much damage. So once again, credit to MosSW for making this site. I will link it in the description down below, where you can put all of your stats in there for damage optimization. But the thing is, what you can see right here, you can even select it on the golem and that kind of stuff. The golem does have a passive that if you're below a certain percentage of HP, that you will do 40% less damage, which is actually very nice shown over here with the multi-hits of the Julie of the 1000 shots. 6,000, a little bit overdone, but sure. But what did I notice over here? So here you can kind of just toy around with adding less attack percentage or less fight runes technically to the thing. And see where I lower the damage by lowering the amount of attack I have. And then from this point on, when I lower it one more, it suddenly jumps up in how much damage I do. So I go from 28.4k damage to one lower to a 30.7k damage. And that is because the fourth shot is not triggered on the passive just yet. And therefore you deal a lot more damage. And that was the main thing that I was having the issue with, because I can show you exactly how that works in game. If we go to my Julie, my original artifact was this artifact over here. So the artifact on the left is the artifact that works. The artifact on the right is the artifact that doesn't work. Well, everyone can see that the artifact on the right is better by simply having more attack increasing effect, more additional damage by speed, and crit damage 3. So placing in the good artifact, which actually does not work, going in by one-time speed just to showcase how this will look like. So, one-time speed, 1000 shot is already activated. So we have 6s over there, 666. And then we go into 3s right here. It's very hard to see, but I think you can see the silhouette of a 3 over there. That should have been yeah, that's where we can see it. So now we hit 3 3s after that. Because of the 3 3s, we will go for this kill, and we don't kill. And it is kind of on edge where it doesn't kill, so it's kind of close to, but that close to still is pretty hard to overcome, I can tell you that much. I tried it in a lot of ways. So that is kind of the issue, which you will see. Also, that is still an issue, like depending how far the Prillia does kill. But we can go for this once again, and we will see once again, we're not full killing over here. All 3 of them are still alive. That's also a thing. Wave 3 is slightly more HP and defense. I think more HP, just not more defense, actually. But yeah, there's a slightly bit more for that over there. So therefore, you just simply don't do it. And that is that small edge where you have to be slightly under to actually deal as maximum amount of damage for that with that Julie, which is just a little bit of nitpicking, super annoying, that kind of stuff. But let me tell you, this is pretty hard to build in the first place. So therefore, this artifact, I did not actually calculate it. I just randomly changed an artifact. And with that randomly changed artifact, it did actually manage to work for me. So if we're checking the damage output right now, so we're looking at 5.7s, which is lower than that 6 that we had in the previous run. But we're actually dealing more 5s. And we're only going to go for lower damage just 2 times. rather than having 3 times lower damage, and then we can actually clear. So that's one of those things. You don't want to deal too much damage, or you really have to overshoot how much damage you do. And as I mentioned, my Luna's kind of not strong enough issues. If it was a little bit stronger, it would have been a little bit faster. Let's see if this run, that's a skill 1. So that's also one of those things, if I don't full kill on that, you might actually lose. So this is a lot on your Luna being strong enough and your Julie being strong enough. Plus you have to get pretty good fight runes. That is one of those things. As I mentioned, I will talk about getting fight runes easier at the last part of the video. But looking at the individual runes. So what do we have over here? We have a 2.8k attack and then 2200, but not the most optimal of artifacts right there. Over here, we do have a lot of damage on water, and then crit damage is low. Crit damage low works very well because you're hitting this golem when they're about like 15 or 20% HP or even less than that. I do also fix the accuracy because you want to have 35 accuracy for landing his S1. But I have this one perfect scenario where there was a 6 over there, 45 over there, adding this first over there. Also this additional damage by attack because I have that many fight runes and that high of attack. It does actually kind of work out. Same here, damage on water, crit damage is low, and then additional damage by attack. That was the highest that I could have for value over there. Prilia also triple fighter right there, damage on water, and then crit damage is own and that kind of good stuff. If I had her on a little bit more damage, I would have potentially maybe a crit damage max over here, and then maybe, no, this is actually a pretty good one already, where I can do a little bit more damage, which is a little bit better of the setup for the Luna, so therefore the Luna doesn't have to shoot that much damage. Luna is pretty high on stats itself as well, lots of crit damage, 3 focused of course. This one, no, that's actually pretty much as good as it gets for a hero. And then runes individually are also pretty solid itself. And then the Himmel, once again, triple fight. You wouldn't get as much of crit damage as you can. I don't have that much crazy fight runes at that point anymore. So this is kind of just what you have to work with. So those are my stats. But the thing is, it still does fail a bit from time to time. And since it fails a bit from time to time, it is not as great, and that is because of the one rotation where you would miss a defense break, you would defense break late, you go for an S3 but don't push back the boss, and you go for an S1 and don't land the glancing. You could mention, why do you not make this 35 accuracy? Yeah, ain't no way that happened. But at that point, if all of that happens, the boss will go for the counter, the boss will go for a death break over here, and then also will get the damage. With all of that, lots of damage coming in, and you immediately die on the whole team. I could maybe make this dude a little bit more tanky to survive that or something like that, and then he does one rotation by itself where he clears the boss, is maybe an option. Maybe if you put a lot of minus water to him or something, but it's kind of shitty where he lands the defense buff, which would really need to tank that hit, at the skill 2, which already is the skill that would clear the boss, and the skill 1 is the issue state in the first place. So if he had defense buff in here, would be a lot better, or if he had perfect eye to protect his allies for whatever reason, would have been really good as well. So then the big question, would I actually run this over my old team? So this was my old team that I was doing with the Frodo and then a GBah. This is running actually slower than this team, mainly because of the Frodo animations just being crazy slow and the bat animations being super fast. However, this team can fail as well because there is no homunculus in there. If you place the homunculus in this, you're not going to be killing anything. So this team fails about 1 in like 100 to 150. This team I can see fail about the same rate. So in the end, this team should be better than that team with the maxed out runes. But what we could also do is add in the homunculus rather than the Himmel in here. Let's see how that looks. Okay, this will be his rune set. Artifacts will look like this. And let's give that a try. It should pretty much work the same as with Himmel. Still, we have this into that in the clear. But this is where it gets even more important that your Luna does kill in this moment, because the homunculus is too long of a cooldown on the S3 to get it back on this turn over here. So if he used it already on the mid-boss, he only has S1 or S2 available, which will always slow down the run in the first place, get into a counter and that kind of stuff. The only thing is the homunculus will always be able to clear. So if your Luna is strong enough, the homunculus team definitely is the best out there, but that does only work if you have a really good Luna that most of the time, or a Luna plus Prilia combination. I don't really have the crazy fight runes on this Prilia to do an insane amount of damage while also having enough damage on this bad thing over here, because the best fight runes that I have are on this thing. But if the run looks like this, then this is a very fast run. And I'm pretty sure that the Homunculus, if you have S3 available, if you shoot S3 over here, you should be able to kill, same as the Himmel does. So that is just one of those things. The cooldown on the Homunculus is a little bit longer, but we're still looking at an 18-second team average. It is just every time that your Luna just lacks a little bit of damage on that mid-boss, it's gonna be worse. But I think I will be running this because this is one of those teams, as long as you add in the Homunculus and they pretty much bring the Homunculus to the end boss, Homunculus will solo the end boss, as long as there's some defense break at some given point or anything like that. But yeah, as you can see, that's just a sliver of fucking health every time. So I do have to upgrade my Luna. Easiest way I can upgrade everything is just get a better relic. Like, that's just one of those things. If I get a better relic, everything is just immediately solved right there. And we don't go into this 27-second shenanigans, nonsense, slow-ass team. So I'm not 100% sure yet if I will run this. Because, yeah, it's just the Luna issue, right? So maybe the Hemo one is going to be a little bit more consistent for getting his skills off all the time. And this goes down to a very slow run the moment it goes bad. But yeah, that's just the Luna issue where the Aprilia-Luna combination has to kill. And that doesn't always happen. So if I get better fight runes on the Aprilia, and the Aprilia goes for an S2, then it does actually work. So yeah. But then, as I mentioned before, more fight runes, and that will actually be something I was not thinking about getting that many fight runes from there, but in the end I am gonna be getting fight runes from there. And I can also tell you a few ways how to get more of that event in properly. And the event that I'm of course talking about is this one, the 12-year point shop, which is an unlimited event, an actual unlimited event. And over here, all the way at the bottom, you can buy 250 points for runes. I've been throwing some at Violent, but actually getting good fight runes from here is so goated. I did this already with about 100k points. From the previous team that I just showcased, 4 out of the 18 fight runes used in the previous team came from the last 100 points that I put in this shit, which is just absolutely goated. So yes, we're going to be throwing more fight runes in this, and I'm going to be throwing fight runes all the way until the end. Might you feel like, oh, that's a little bit of waste? Well, if you don't care about your dungeons being absolutely the fastest, don't do this shit, just throw it at Violent. But for me, I'm actually going to be throwing this at Fight for a bit, just so that I never have to look at fight runes ever again. Plus, how do you get a lot of these points? Because like, oh, you have to wheel a lot to get those points in. Well, yes, you do get your points from getting runes, artifacts, grindstones, but it's also from using gems and grindstones. And that is a really interesting one right there, because you get 5 to 10 points from using your grinds and gems. Let's see, we're at 226 right now. I do have close to 6,000 gems and grinds. If we apply a hero on an absolutely random rune, and we go back to the event, we gained 5 over here. So sure, in the end, it's not a crazy amount, but if you start farming just mainly R5 for the last few days of this event and use as many grinds as you can possibly do, first of all, you would improve your rune quality by a lot. Second of all, you can get a lot of fight runes from this event, and then you never have to think about fight runes ever again. So that's my recommendation right there. And verdict, what will I do myself? I think I will be running this team with the Hemo, just eat a few fails until the Homunculus team is ready, where my Aprilia and Luna actually do enough damage. Maybe I get a better relic that would easily solve that problem. And on the alt, I will absolutely use this team as my new core team for Giants. Plus, I would recommend pretty much everyone to use this as a core team for Giants, because you don't have to waste Devilmons into a Homunculus, you don't have to waste Devilmons into the Teshar. Sure, if you started playing late, you would have to waste Devilmons into Silvertail, but he's not the biggest of must where you actually have to throw Devilmons in. However, I do recommend it for this 15% and 5% over there. You don't have to max out the S2. And this one, of course, you get for free. So guys, that's all for this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. And see you as always in the next one.
Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab for the guide video archive, which contains all of the guides that you might need. Hope to see you there.